Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Allen. I'm joined by my usual broadcast partner, former NHL defenseman Tom Laidlaw, who played 11 seasons for the New York Rangers and Los Angeles Kings. This is the Laidlaw and Allen Report. We come to you twice a week to talk all things hockey. And Tom, will start today's discussion with big news in Montreal. Marc Bergevin, who, of course, was GM of the same team that reached the Stanley Cup final, suddenly they've decided he's not worthy to hold that title anymore. And Jeff Gordon, the former Ranger man, is in, and Marc Bergevin is out.
Well, and again, they made Gordon the executive vice president of hockey operations. So the stories are still going to hire another general manager, which is kind of surprising. But I guess the pressure there in Montreal to hire a French-speaking general manager is probably part of that logic. And they've got Gordon there with his experience. He did a great job here with the Rangers. It is funny with the Bergevin, a former player, and I don't know him that well, but a great guy, and I thought he was doing fine. I guess this decision to me doesn't go just to this season. It's got to be going back a long way because last year, like you said, they go to the finals. Then this year they lose Carey Price, one of the best goaltenders in the league. He had to go for treatment. And one of the best defensemen and best leaders in the game, Shea Weber, is no longer playing. He retired. So it's hard to say that it's the bad job by the general manager, but I guess that's what I think. This rumor's been going around for a while. That Bergevin has been in trouble. So,
well, I agree with you because I don't think that when you get to the final, in the summer and then suddenly in the fall you're already gone. It can't be just those turn of events because you can't blame him for what's happening. So this may have been dissatisfied for a while, and I think last season I think everybody sort of agreed that it wasn't like they were a team that everybody thought should be in the final. I think it was more of a momentum ride in the final. We see that, when teams play really well during the postseason and they get to the final, and it's not a case of like that he had built a super team.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree. Real quick though, I know we get to talk a lot about hockey, but it is your lovely wife, Terry Allen. It's her birthday today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're all going out to the family and two of my grandkids and my daughter and her husband. We're going to Toledo Zoo tonight for the light display, which is always kind of a big thing. If you're a zoo goer, you know that they do a good job of Christmas displays. And Toledo Zoo is, if you're in the Midwest, I think you sort of understand that it's a big time zoo. So some cities just do a better job than others, and the Toledo Zoo is a good one. So,
nice.
We're going out there. It'll be early, 5 o'clock. We'll head out there, which is, I just said to my wife yesterday, by the time we get rolling, it'll be past my grandkids' bedtime. So, we'll be walking the tightrope without a net. So.
You're brave individuals. You're brave.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But always a big day on my wife's birthday. So a little too close for Christmas, though. I bet when she was a kid, she didn't enjoy that.
Double it up for presents.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like the people who have birthdays on like December 22nd or 23rd or something like that.
I never thought about that. That's right too. Like, what do you do? You're not getting all the presents you want, right? Yeah.
No, imagine if you're smack dab right on December 25th, where you get no love, essentially.
That's the problems, especially when they're kids. Like I said, when my brother or sister get all these presents on a birthday and separate day for Christmas, I get just one present for Christmas and for birthday. Yeah, sure.
Now, Tom, I will get back to hockey, I promise you, but I wanted to ask you, I'm not a scary movie person. I don't know if you are or not. So, but anyway, I was at my son's house, and my daughter-in-law and I were, my son and my wife were doing something else, and we kind of settled in, and we watched Quiet Place 2. I don't know if you've seen The Quiet Place.
Haven't seen it, no.
Yeah. So I guess I saw just part of the first one, and I thought it was pretty scary. But it's basically there are aliens, and if you make any sound, they hear it and they kind of come after you. So you just got to sort of live your life in total silence. So it's really suspenseful. And, I find it curious how sometimes I just end up, because I don't enjoy scary movies, I end up watching them.
I know. Is that true?
I actually liked that. I ended up liking that movie.
One of the scariest movies I ever saw was this guy had gotten buried in like a box, and it was all about him being in the box and it was just because I think I've got claustrophobia or something, and I couldn't stop. The same thing, I couldn't stop watching it, but it was just awful. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to get your take on that. So suspense is a little bit different than scary, though. This was kind of more suspenseful.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
So anyway,
how about Brandon Lemieux biting Kachuk's finger?
Yeah, I don't even understand any of that. Like that happens more often than you think. Where and always it's sort of like, it reminds me a little bit. In the old days, I used to say, when you have kids that played soccer, after every game, you go through the handshake line, and somebody always says, he spit on my hand and all that kind of stuff, which I never believed. That's kind of what I used to think about biting. But in this case, it's alleged, but it sure seems that was the case.
Well, a couple of questions. First of all, how did his fingers get into Lemieux's mouth? I mean, that's so. I mean, there's sometimes players have done things. I had a guy, I can't remember who it was now, tried to gouge my eyes one time, and if I really wasn't that big of a fight, I was like, what are you doing? But there's been other times, where, I mean, again, fingers just happen to make your way into somebody's mouth. You're going to get bit.
Well, I mean, like if you watch it in slow motion, you're gripping on the jersey and the guy's face is right by where your fingers are. I mean, you just can chomp down on them. You know what I mean? So, it's.
But I know it's a long time ago and the rules are different and everything. I remember one of my first years in the league, we were playing Quebec City, and Dale Hunter bit me on the cheek. We were having a fight, and he bit me on the cheek, the face cheek, not the butt cheek. Clarify that. And I didn't think it was like a big deal. I tried to beat the crap out of him for doing it, but I didn't think it was that big of a deal. It wasn't like suspension.
You tried to beat up Dale Hunter?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That takes some conviction.
Yeah. He was a tough little guy then, but he
was very tough.
Yeah, he hadn't really established himself that much of a tough guy yet. And it was early in my career, and I was probably doing more fighting than he was at that point. But the whole, I mean, even the comments by Lemieux after, like he made a bigger deal. I would rather he just shut up and let the league handle it. But that's.
Yeah, I actually was witness to a square off in the Sarnia Summer Pro League.
Oh,
the boys in the NHL and top junior players from the area in Sarnia, they would get together and they would have I can't remember if it was 4 teams or 6 teams, but they'd have a pro league in the summer. You'd get ready for the season, and some guys from the IHL, Billy LeCane was a big time IHL player, and he would play in that league. And the Hunter brothers were from the area, and the Verbeeks were from there.
Oh yeah,
so the Verbeeks and the Hunters squared off, and their dads were actually in watching, through the glass, and I was afraid they were going to end up at it too, because at one point, I know, I think it was Mr. Verbeek said to Patty, "You got to go help your brother," because he had his hands full with one of the Hunters. And to be honest, I don't remember now. I should, but I don't. I don't think it was. I think it was Mark, and Mark was one of them for sure.
And wasn't it Pat Verbeek? Wasn't he a pig farmer and he got his thumb cut off at some point?
I don't know if he's a pig farmer. He was a farmer. And he lost his thumb, and they had the wherewithal to keep it all together, find the thumb, take it back to the thing, and reattach it. For sure. But yeah, I mean, when it was over, it seemed silly because everybody went to the brass rail and drank. Afterward, but when it was going on, it seemed pretty heavy duty. And those summer leagues were always too much.
Yeah. I'll never forget the game Montreal against Quebec City in the playoffs. And there was Mark Hunter, I believe, was on Montreal. I think Dale Hunter was on Quebec. And they got into it during the brawl. It was a big bench clearing brawl, and the two brothers, not for a long period of time, but they were going at it a little bit. So that's did you see two kind of surprising, if you look back, turn the clock back a couple years, a couple of surprising players that put on waivers and cleared waivers, Evander Kane and Murray, the goaltender for Ottawa, both of them cleared waivers for St. Paul Miners. So.
Yeah, but I'm not surprised at Evander Kane. It's a lot of money. We've talked about this before. You're a big proponent of paying homage to the chemistry of a room. And I think if you're concerned about that, Evander Kane is not something you wanted to bring into the room a little bit.
That's a shame too. Like I've got to. I think like years ago, I probably would have said this guy's a bad guy. You just got to think he needs help. I think like somebody's get to him to help him.
Yeah, be careful. Be careful. You're crossing over into a bleeding heart. So
I know.
Careful. Yeah, you don't want that to happen. Want that to happen.
How about Susan Brooks brings up a good point. I'm sure you saw the highlights. So Marchand, Rangers and Boston were playing, and Marchand apparently was saying some disparaging things to Panarin about his the Russian connection or whatever. And Panarin throws the glove at him. I thought that was hilarious. That was pretty good.
Yeah, there was. I was watching an NFL game, and somebody said something about someone's mother, and they ended up getting a really costly penalty.
Right.
It was a member of the Detroit Lions, actually. And as I was watching, I was thinking, that happens in the NHL all the time.
I know.
Like it's amazing to me, and we've talked about this before. Hockey players are such nice guys, but like if you hear some of the stuff that I've heard through the years that have been said,
well, I think because everybody, like we even treat each other like our teammates like that. Maybe not as bad, but some of the comments that are made. Well, when I was out in LA one time, we had a party at my house, so we invited the whole team, invited some neighbors over, and when the team left, the neighbors stayed, and they were devastated. Do you guys hate each other or what? What are you talking about? Like we're saying stuff to each other that we say in the locker room.
I've tried to explain this to people as well, and it's kind of hard to explain. But I really, as used as an example, is Brian Burke and Wilson, Ron Wilson,
right,
who are the closest of friends.
Yeah.
But when they're together, and I've been with them, it's like they're 13 years old. and even when I watch your show. Like in the real world, people don't talk like that.
I know.
It's like sophomoric would be kind of the word that, it's that, jabbing, making fun of each other, that kind of thing.
Childish stuff. You're right. It's totally childish.
Yeah. But like Brian Burke has a Harvard law degree, like it's not, and, everybody seems to enjoy it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, is it really a bad thing if everybody's having a good time?
I know.
But the problem is it just takes one person.
I know. The funny thing about it is, like, we can give it to each other, but when somebody from the outside may try to do the same thing, sometimes we don't always take it right. I mean, it's that little fraternity thing going on there. But
it's just kind of the way of the world. And you don't see that as much. I've done a lot of NFL games. You don't see that in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's not their thing. I don't know if it's why that is, but I don't recall ever, it's not ribbing each other is not part of the football culture, I guess. I don't know. I guess I'm wrong. I think
it is true. Like Boomer Esiason and I, it's not like we're great friends, but he's a big Ranger fan, and I've done some charity events with him, so we're pretty close. And we did a charity game probably 3 or 4 years ago down in New Jersey, and he was in there and in the locker room. Now he had his team he calls the Wasp, I think it is. And I think they just kind of pay homage to Boomer all the time. They don't talk back to him. He tells them what to do and everything. So you're in the locker room, and I was just giving it to Boomer. And the guys on his team, the Wasp guys, go, keep going. Like they wanted me to keep going because it's something they wanted to do all the time. It's pretty, but I do think there's different cultures in different sports for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So, but I mean, that's the kind of thing. Like people, getting back to where we started this, like people would be shocked at probably what Marchand said, but he isn't the only guy.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, it really kind of gets ugly out there. And I think what ends up happening is then every once in a while when someone, crosses the line in a racial way or, with French Canadian, we've had those issues, and it's almost like an extension of what kind of goes on all the time. So, you always got to be a little bit careful on that. Because it's just too accepted, I think.
Oh, it is. Oh, man, it is nasty. And they've cleaned it up a lot now. There's some of the things that are off limits now, and they should be off limits.
Yeah. No, and I think that's fair. I should have mentioned that because you're right. You're absolutely right. Like they have cleaned it up a little bit. There's been a lot of discussion about it, and I think the players themselves cleaned it up a little bit.
Yeah, it's a whole different culture now. There's still that ribbing each other, but people don't usually cross the line. Like you said, we were always crossing the line. In fact, if somebody crossed the line before, you're almost you're taught, just don't respond to it, because if you respond to it, then he's just going to continue to do it. So it's like you got to let it go. But there's some funny stuff too.
And the other thing too is that the contradiction is so hard to describe with people. On one hand, you have the mentality, Bobby Clark breaking Harlamov's ankle in order to win a game, which is part of the culture. And even today, slashing a guy on the wrist, back of the legs, not as accepted as it once was, but still accepted as a way to go. Now, you have that culture, and yet if someone's in trouble, like in the hockey world, and they need help, if there's a serious illness, hockey players are the first to
exactly. Even if you don't know the guy, if you've never met
him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, they're mean in the game, within the game. Yeah. And they're very nice when you get them outside the rink.
I know it is. It's so true. Like, we talk about the Rangers hated the Flyers so much and everything. And I'll never forget. So Dave Brown everybody hated him. He did some things that he deserved to be hated. But you meet him now, one of the nicest guys ever. I met him. He's a scout, and I met him when I was in the agent business. And it's just like, this guy was just an animal on the ice, but off the ice, total sweetheart. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
So one of my things I've been monitoring, and you and I've talked about this before. So the Islanders are going to miss at least 2 games because of COVID. I think they got 8 or 9 cases of positive tests. So now it continues. Now this new variant is coming out. So where are we at with the Olympics?
Well, I mean, I think Elliot Friedman, who's reporting, I think is impeccable, has said that there's more concern being raised from the player level. And that's the important aspect of it. This is all about the players. Yeah. Like, I keep having to remind people this, like people saying, what's the league doing going to this, playing? Because some people think they shouldn't be going at all because of the way China treats people and what they do to us in business and all that kind of stuff. And I got to remind them, you got this wrong. Gary Bettman has never wanted to go to the Olympics. Like they don't want to go. The NHL doesn't want to be there. This is a player-driven thing. They want to be at the Olympics, and it would not. Gary Bettman would be pleased as punch if the players decided they didn't want to go. Right. So now they've. I saw a quote from that was over. It's now probably 3 days old, maybe even 4, where he just said we're all just kind of monitoring it, but right now, we still feel we want to go. So. Yeah. We'll see, what's happening there. But I don't think that Gary Bettman is going to push the issue as much as I don't think he really wants to go. I mean, for a variety of reasons. The owners, don't like shutting down the league. They don't like risking the health and everything. But I don't think he'll force it just because why pick a fight with the players if they want to go? So.
But I guess, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm unfairly saying because it's in China, they're more likely to get the virus. Is that accurate to even say that? When they come back.
To be honest, the complaining I've heard is that the Chinese are going to be more strict than players really want them to be. I've heard that even within the Olympic Village, it's mask on at all times. And, I believe there'll be Chinese military walking around enforcing those rules. So,
you think about it, families can't go over, so the players are going to go over by themselves in the Olympics. Got to wear masks. So if it's that miserable experience instead of being that fun experience that they want, maybe the players are starting to say, we don't need to do that.
But I think in our country, I don't know how Canada feels about it, but in our country there is a real anti-China sentiment, and not just for the COVID, but just beyond that, it just feels like China has replaced Russia as the evil empire. So there are a lot of people who think, we shouldn't even be going over there.
Right. So is that tennis player that disappeared, that female tennis player that disappeared for a while, and
right, and their human rights record is not very good, and so it's
So let's jump ahead then. Let's say that they do not go. The NHL doesn't go, but they've already got the schedule out.
I know.
Right? There's a 2-week break there. Or whatever.
Everybody gets vacation. The first all NHL vacation that wasn't a lockout.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. They're going to be in a bad spot because they might say, okay, well, we got to make up these makeup games. So are you going to make the Islanders and
Ottawa.
Senators play games
Yeah.
and then having to call teams back and then everybody else gets to be off? Like that doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, because everybody else is on some island someplace laying in the sun having a Mai Tai. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's interesting. I've found,
so Doug Wilson, the general manager in San Jose, he's taken a medical leave of absence. Have you heard any more about that?
no, I have not. When you hear that, it seems scary. You always hear that and you're going, uh-oh. But, he seems like, yeah, I'll be back. I mean, they're also, it could be knee replacement. You can have all kinds of things that, that are not, are less scary than all that kind of stuff. So I think it's better, and I speculated, but, we shouldn't speculate, that's the deal.
But to have to take a medical leave of absence, again, you're right, careful, but it must be something fairly serious if you have to take a leave of absence.
Well, or it could just be something that's nagging. I saw somebody write as if they had some knowledge saying, this is bothering for some time. And you just thought it's time to take care of it. I don't really know. And, even as a journalist, it's hard for me to say this, but I actually believe that when you have a medical issue, if you want to keep it private, that's your business.
Yeah,
so,
very true. Very true.
And
on that note, too, Troy Murray out of Chicago, he's a broadcaster now. He's battling cancer.
Yeah, that's the sad deal. And, Chicago's gone through that with Eddie Olczyk.
Right.
But again, I think that this is when the hockey world steps up. You getting all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I know when Mike Bossy announced, I had talked to two people who said, I've got it on the top of my desk. I'm going to give him a call. So
too, the more you think about that too, like your statement that you made, like hockey world, how we want to kill each other out there on the ice, but when somebody needs something in the hockey world, everybody comes running. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, just quality people in the hockey world. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
so.
Okay, the most important thing we have to touch on Mondays is: did you see my Sunday meal?
I didn't. To be honest, I was not on social media much at all over the weekend. There was just so much going on for the. I was at my son's house, so we had just a lot going on. So I didn't. I don't have any idea.
I broke down. I got some canned tuna, some noodles, cottage cheese, some vegetables, garlic, onions, spinach, some tomatoes on it, made up and some crushed tomatoes. Ooh, it's tasty. I was kind of hesitant. I saw this recipe with canned tuna. I thought, oh man, we'll see how it goes. But tuna was good.
Well, canned tuna in spring water. I mean, like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
So good. I mean, it's only get. So what was it like a tuna salad like? Or?
So it's called a cheesy tuna noodle bake. So you put it all together and bake it in the oven, and you put the cheese on top and everything, so it crispies up a little bit. So it was tasty.
You're getting a little too liberal in your use of cheese. There's that word again,
liberal. But God. So it was cottage cheese. So the bulk of it was cottage cheese, which is less fat than most cheeses. So and I actually didn't even use chickpea pasta. I used regular pasta too. So I do need to be I do that sometimes where I fade away from the really strict diet sometimes, but I think just during the holidays here. So.
Wow. No, not chickpea pasta, just real pasta.
Yeah, I know. Oh, the big thing is too. So my sons, I love them to death. They're 28 and 31 years old. Shane's the 31-year-old. Cody's the 28-year-old. We have this little thing, like to compliment each other on our cooking or anything like that is kind of a taboo. It might be started because I brag a little bit about my cooking. So I made the apple pie and raspberry pie for Christmas dinner, and I brought over the homemade hummus. And the apple pie, the pies were so good, they wouldn't let me take any home with me. They wanted to take it and eat them also.
Oh, good. Everybody enjoyed them then, eh?
Yes, I was really happy with the raspberry pie because you got to get the sweetness just right with the raspberry pie because you get the tart raspberries there, and you can't put too much sugar in, but you got to put enough in there. So,
my son was telling the story about his in-laws. They have this big extended family Christmas, and one of the highlights of the extended family Christmas dinner is everybody brings multiple pies of all different kinds.
Right.
And it gets so complicated that they actually issue a spreadsheet that comes out a couple of weeks before the actual event, and then you have to check off which pie you want to sample.
Right.
And so then they have it in, and then they cut the pies accordingly, and then deliver to you. So you can get like a half a piece of apple pie, and then some chocolate cream pie, and whatever, and you just.
Now, where are you at with the pies? Now, like sometimes when you get a fresh pie, it doesn't come out like in one solid piece. Like it may fall apart or whatever. Does that bother you at all? The pie, the taste?
No, I mean it wouldn't bother me, but my wife's pies generally hold together. So
I wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah. She made a chocolate pie for because we had the traditional Thanksgiving feast on a Saturday before we left, which it wasn't quite. Like yours, because half the people in attendance were either vegetarians or vegans.
Right.
So they had some sort of vegetable hand pocket thing that they ate. But on the traditional Thanksgiving, we had tamales.
That's right.
With beans and rice, and it was a Mexican feast. But for dessert, my wife made a chocolate silk pie, and the interesting aspect of that is my wife can't eat chocolate silk pie because she's vegan. So
wow,
there you have it. So she makes and she made a turkey tetrazzini for the Wednesday meal out of the turkey that we had left, but of course she can't eat it. Right. She makes all kinds of food that she can't eat.
That's very sweet because she loves her family so much. She just they'll love it. Yeah, good.
Exactly.
So we had our Wednesday night. We had the final tryout for our high school girls team here in Greenwich, Connecticut, which I'm the assistant coach for. So then we had to have the cuts on Wednesday night too. That was the hard part, cutting some of the girls. So,
was there a reaction from the?
They, to their credit, they really. So the head coach and I were in the room. They brought them in, and we would let them know whether they made the team or not, and they all seemed to handle it pretty well. They're teenagers too, so you wonder. I hope they weren't too upset when they got home, whatever. But some of them, I think, the talent level there's a big disparity. So I think they understood that the chance of making the team weren't that good. But still, it's hard though, because the girls are so sweet to coach and everything. It's not that the boys aren't, but the girls are. So many after practice now. It's always go, thank you, coach, and you don't always get that from the boys where you're coaching them. So.
Yeah, but sometimes that can be better. My wife coached both boys and girls, and she thought it was a little bit easier to coach boys because they were a little less, they were accepting of the way things are. Right. They just, they do what they're supposed to do, and then they, and you don't see how, they may be mad at you, but they don't do it in public. So where it does boil over, I think she felt with the. With the girls' teams.
So what happens next now coming up for Christmas then? Are you guys same kind of thing? Your families are getting together in different locations? Or?
Yeah, we've had some difficulties this year already. We had planned to have our Christmas on December 23rd. Basically we're coordinating, a lot of working people. So we've got people coming in from South Carolina. That's my daughter, her husband. And then we have the Chicago Allens coming in with the most grandkids, so they carry a lot of weight.
Right.
So they have 5 people. And my son has the most difficult time getting time off because he is an occupational therapist in the medical community. He has a lot of patients, and scheduling. And he had hoped that he had someone that was going to cover his patients for him for couple weeks, and it looked like he was going to have a nice chunk of time off, but that all kind of come crashing down when the person that he thought was covering him is not. So now he's down to no days off. So we've had to move from the 23rd. Now we're going to do it on the Sunday, the 19th. So he's coming in, and he's going to actually leave his family to go back to work. So they're going to stay here in town in Michigan.
Right.
And then my daughter and her husband will stay in for 4 or 5 days. So we'll have like an extended period of Allen fun minus my son, who will only be here 2 days.
That's not bad. Yeah, it is hard. Everybody's busy with schedule. That we do ours on a Sunday, so the closest Sunday, because we want to be able to watch football. So I think probably the 26th was Saturday's the 25th is Saturday.
Yeah, so we do it, kind of opposite. We try to avoid the football because we have a lot going on.
Yeah, my boys are adults now, so yeah.
Yeah, well, so are mine, but
that's
a lot going on.
Thank you.
So, but the I mean, we have the reindeer games. I've talked about those in the past, so we are going to try to do those, even if we have to do them with my son on Zoom. Which it's kind of hard to describe, but it's kind of a trivia type thing where all the and there's cash prizes, of course, that I put up,
right,
which makes it interesting. So,
right. So in hockey, just to finish it off, then, so Bergevin gets fired in Montreal, and very often I think it happens. Tell me if I'm wrong. It seems like a team like Vancouver, who's had a tough go here. You think, okay, now another team has fired a general manager. Do you think it's more likely now that Vancouver does something, either coach, general manager, or both?
That's a great question. I don't know if that it's more likely. I think that it's always been a possibility that they were going to do something. I'm not sure it makes it any more likely.
Yeah.
Another team that I think you got to put on the watch list is Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Because the reason is, I just wrote a column about this. If you look at last season, they started out the year 6-2-2 last year, and then they ended up, I don't remember exact record, but they had a losing record for about 20 games, and the season just went sideways.
Yep.
And same thing this year. They started out well, and now the season's gone sideways. They've lost 5 in a row. Did they play last night? I don't even know.
I can't remember. And they made all those trades during the summer, which made it look like they were going to be a lot better, especially on defense. Right?
For sure. Now, it hasn't helped that Ryan Ellis has only played 4 games.
Right.
But so now, I wonder whether Alain Vigneault is in trouble there. So,
and I got to tell you, and I hate to say this about another human being, he was a player and everything. It's just that his last few years here in New York, it just seemed like the team was turning like a real passive team that weren't aggressive at all. And I just thought, again, all the talk last year in Philadelphia was that it turned into a country club there in Philadelphia. So, yeah, I would agree with you. Yeah.
Well, the one thing this year that's sort of odd, I mean, last year it was the goaltending and the defense. This year, they're not scoring any goals. They're like 26th in the league. And
what does that do with Chuck Fletcher, the general manager? He's the one that put this team together, right? So
I don't know, but it seems as a general rule, not always. I mean, because we just saw Bergevin being fired, but as a general rule, you fire GMs after the season.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
But you give the GM a chance, because people say, well, listen, it didn't work out with that coach. So you fire the coach first, see what that changes. Yeah. So, there's a lot happening. I don't know if there's anybody else in trouble. I thought it was interesting that Murray, boy, how far the mighty have fallen. He's Stanley Cup winning goalkeeper, and now he doesn't have a roster spot in the NHL. So.
I know. Hey, should we get our good buddy Don Waddell, general manager and president of the Carolina Hurricanes, on? Because we should get him now before he wins general manager of the year, shouldn't we?
Well, we should get him on. We should get some guests on, and for sure. Let's get.
We'll be ahead of the curve. They'll give him a hard time about winning GM, and he'll love that, right? Because he won't want to talk about that.
No, he will not. Because hockey players and hockey general managers and hockey coaches are superstitious.
Yes, totally. Yep,
bunch. So.
Yeah. Definitely.
Anyway, all right.
Who's in the background there? Is it a boy?
I have one grandchild here. That is Hudson.
Nice.
Hudson Brown Demick, also known as Downtown Hudson Brown. She's like Cindy Lou Who. She's not yet 2.
Oh,
so she's one and change.
Okay.
So,
nice.
And she comes over a couple or 3 times a week during the day while her mom teaches.
I like the background noise. It's like background, like music. She was singing there almost.
Right? Yeah. So she's full of life today. So, and we just heard that over the weekend she had exerted her independence and didn't take a nap. And I said, "Oh no," says the grandpa, because that nap time is time when you can get more done. There's not the noise factor.
Now, but I should ask you first as a grandparent, would you want to put her on camera right now, or do you think she'd want to come on camera?
I think she'd want to be on camera. Hudson, can you come over and say hello? Hudson, come here, Hudson. People want to see you. Come over, Hudson. Can you walk? That would be better. She's decided she's going to crawl over, even though she runs everywhere. Come here. Come and see me. I want to show you. We're going to say hello to this person here. This is Tom. Are you going to bring your baby? Okay.
Hudson, how are you?
Oh,
Oh, good to see you. There you go.
there you go.
He's like,
Can you say hi? Do you say hi to him? That's Tom.
hi, Hudson.
Can you show him? Can you wave? Can you wave?
You've got more hair than Grandpa and I put together.
Yeah. Can you show him your baby? It's your baby on
Oh,
TV.
that's nice. Very
Oh, yeah.
nice. And Ron Greshner has one just like that. Yes. Yeah,
So
definitely.
this is Hudson. This is my youngest.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Nice to meet you, Hudson.
all right.
All right.
All right.
All right.
See you later.
Take care.
Okay.
That should be a regular segment. Get one of the grandkids on there.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll cover us for 5 days. So, although I don't think we're done. So
No.
we might get more. So
Okay. Good.
anyway, I guess that's it for today. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back on Wednesday. We'll have to find out whether or not I'm assuming they'll send Evander Kane down to the minors, see what they're going to do there. And if you want to read what I have to say about things, I'm at hockeybuzz.com and also Detroit Hockey Now.
And again, if you want to listen to the radio version of this show, you can go to radio.co at 365 Sports. Again, that's radio.co at 365 Sports. We'll see everybody on Wednesday.